Hey guys, welcome to this list of books that I have for my 7th grader for the next school year. So I do have a homeschool YouTube channel that I post on intermittently, and I thought about posting this here. Last year I did a book list for my daughter there and one for my son. But this year I just decided to do it here because it has to do with books more than homeschooling in a lot of ways. I don't know. Her two main genres are definitely fantasy and historical fiction, and you'll notice there's definitely most of that here, and then a little bit of other stuff kind of sprinkled in as well. And I think I kind of know what she's going to like. I'm going to put some predictions out there as to like whether or not I think she'll enjoy the book or not, and maybe I will check in every now and then and let you know how it's going. So a lot of these I have read myself and either think she'll like or kind of want to hear her thoughts. Some of them I haven't. Yeah, our homeschool is very relaxed. I have about 20 books here, and that's about 2 a month during the school year. Should be easy enough for her. She reads quite a few books. I don't think quite as many as I do, but at the same time she has more time than I do, so some months she reads more. She also listens to quite a bit on audio, so she might do some of these on audio as well. So let's start with the historical fiction, because I feel like those are the ones that kind of make the most sense for like homeschool purposes, because you're really like learning about history as well as reading a book. So I've got a big stack here. This is the largest stack that I have. The first one on the list is Prairie Lotus. I should say, like, this is the first one on the list. I'm just gonna let her pick them up in whatever order she wants to. It doesn't matter to me. So this one is kind of like Little House in the Woods, but our main character is half Chinese. So her mom was Chinese, her dad is white. And I'm going to talk about this one in my next recent reads, which will probably be the next video after this, because I just finished it this week. So it's written by Linda Sue Park, who is Asian herself, and she did a lot of research. She really liked the Little House books growing up and wanted to feel represented, so that's kind of how this story came about. And I'm curious to hear my daughter's thoughts. It was really interesting to me to read about a half Chinese girl, and I was like enraged reading this book. More thoughts next video, just to see how she was treated. It really bothered me, but it's really good to read about. Then one that I just finished, I think in my last recent reads, is A Place to Hang the Moon. I raved about this one for quite some time. So this is very, gives you vibes of the beginning of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, because we follow 3 siblings who are at the beginning of World War II. They're being sent into the country to find a family to live with, to get out of London with the bombings, because of the bombings. And what's different is these siblings, they are orphans. Their grandmother also just died. She was their caregiver. She left them a bunch of money, but she didn't leave them someone to take care of her. So the plan is to go to the countryside, see if they can find a family that doesn't know that they're rich, and see if they can find a family that fits for them, and then tell them afterwards that they're rich. And there was a lot of like bookish quotes and references and things that I really enjoyed, because they all enjoy reading, and I loved their sibling relationship. I think my daughter's going to love this book. I need to buy a copy for our home for sure. Another one that I read this one in May, actually. It is The Length of a String. This is also a World War II historical fiction-ish. Okay, so it's set in present day, but this girl comes across her great-grandmother's diary from when her great-grandmother came over from a country. Her great-grandmother was Jewish, and she came over to New York and kept a diary, and the rest of her family wasn't able to come over. So it's very interesting to hear our main character watch our main character reading the story of her great-grandmother, and you learn a lot about history. It's oh, what's that country? Lithuania, I want to say. It was a tiny little Luxembourg. Yes, I think that one. It was a tiny little European country that her grandmother came from, and you learn a lot about the history of World War II and the Jewish people in that country. I think there was like 1,000 of them during World War II, so like not very many. Very good read. I definitely had tears in this one. And going more onto World War II, I think this might be my last World War II one, Number the Stars. This one I'm so excited to finally have in my collection. I bought this recently because I really enjoyed this one. It's a super small book. We follow a girl whose name, Anna Marie. She is in Denmark. yeah, it's been a while since I read this one, but her best friend is Jewish, and so her family tries to help her best friend escape, and this was amazing how much of a punch this can pack in such a small space. I'm very excited for her to read this one. I kind of enjoy being able to make my daughter cry when it comes to books. Like, then I know I've definitely been recommending some good books. So the next one is Tunnels of Time. So this is a Canadian historical fiction set in our province. This is set in Moose Jaw, where they actually have tunnels that you can go and explore. They have like tours you can go on there, and they're I'm totally blanking on the word, but they have like actual people that are pretending to be the people. There's one that is Al Capone's tunnels. For during the Prohibition, they were moving out alcohol through these tunnels, and that is what this is based on. It's about a 13-year-old girl who goes to Moose Jaw for her cousin's wedding, but then she kind of like stumbles across the tunnels and Al Capone. So that's really cool. And I recently hauled book 5. I thought there was only 4 books in the series, but there's at least 5. I love being able to sprinkle in some more local history as well, so that's fun. And then I found this is one of the Royal Diaries. This is Isabel. So this is Spain in 1466. So definitely a time period I know nothing about, and I do own a few of these Royal Diaries. I might assign a few more to her, but I thought this would be an interesting one because I just hauled it, but 2 because it's Spain, which is a place that she hasn't read anything about to my knowledge, and 1466, a very different time period than she usually reads. Oh, plus it talks about castle turrets. I kind of am obsessed with houses with turrets. I don't know if I would like to live in one, because they're not really very wise functionally to kind of have like a rounded room, but I really like the look from the outside. I don't even know what was happening back in this time, so maybe she can tell me after she reads it. Now this one is a Usborne book, so this is set in 1969. I bought a few from this series a few years ago, and then she was too young for them at the time, but I think this is a good time. So what is happening now? Andy dreams of becoming an artist. Her best paintings are inspired by the moon, and she's excited about the first moon landing. But she's also worried it might lose its magic once man has set foot there. So that's interesting. I would be interested actually to read this myself. I kind of have low expectations for the actual quality of this because it's just an Usborne book, not one that's out there for other publishers. I don't know. It seems very exclusive. But I'm curious. So sometimes I like to make her read books first and then tell me if I would like them. Then this is a Scott Odell book, Bright Black Star Bright Dawn. Found this at a thrift store a while ago, and she really enjoyed his Island of the Blue Dolphins book. I think when she was in grade 4, she like reread that book so many times. And this one has to do with a teenage Eskimo girl and her dog, and I don't know, it's very, very tiny, pretty small font. But I think because she liked his other book, I would like her to try another one by him. Now this is a blast from my past. This is Mandy and the Secret Tunnel. So this is a whole series, and I own a few of them. They're about Mandy Shaw. She's almost a teenager, and she's certain God no longer loves her as she watches her father being lowered into his grave. Mandy's move into a neighbor family's home when her mother remarries does not soften her grief. Her only comfort is a promise from her father's faithful Cherokee friend, Uncle Ned, to watch out for her and be her friend. Okay, I don't remember anything from this series, but I remember my school library had them and I read them, and so just for nostalgia's sake, I want her to read them. I should probably pick this up myself as well. Then every now and then I come across some American Girl books, which is kind of funny being in Canada. This is a Samantha mystery, Clue in the Castle Tower. Samantha and Nellie are visiting England with their grandparents, and there's an ancient castle, and there might be a ghost haunting. So I don't know. I like to assign those kind of books for her, including these ones. There are a few Canadian Girl books, and every now and then I stumble across them in the library or at the thrift store. So this one is Ellen. I wish it would say like this is the year that it takes place. This takes place in a bungalow in West Vancouver. Oh, during the Depression. Okay. This one is Emily, and this is James Bay. So this is Ontario. Oh, Victoria. Living in Victoria, 1896. He pines for a bicycle. On the other side of Victoria's James Bay Bridge is Chinatown. A world as different from Emily's as can be. Oh, okay. And this one is Elizabeth Book 1, and this one is in Nova Scotia. So we're just like going all over the place here. I guess there's two in BC, one in Nova Scotia. So we got the west and the east. So that'll be interesting. So that's all for my historical fiction. Next I will pull up like the ones that are fantasy or fantasy-ish. The first one is the Dreamkeeper saga. This one I just read last month, I think, and I didn't love it, but I think she might. This is one that I'm not really sure about. I think she'll either love it, because I feel like maybe this one was written more for middle grade kids than for adults, which is totally fine. But I'm curious because I think maybe she won't actually like it, but I really want her to read it so I can find out for sure. Then I've got Gregor the Overlander. So I recently hauled this, and I'm not sure if I'm going to assign this one exactly to her to read herself, or maybe we will pull this up on audio and do this together as a family. Either way, sometime this year I want her reading this one. This is a fairy tale retelling. This is Lost in a Book by Jennifer Donnelly. So I read this one a while ago. So it's like, yeah, just Beauty and the Beast retelling, and curious to hear her thoughts. I didn't love it, but I know some people do, and maybe she will. And then a series I just finished is York. This first one is called The Shadow Cipher. It's sci-fi steampunk series. It's a trilogy, and I think she'll really enjoy it. I did. It's hard to like know if I'm just trying to push on what I think or not, but I think she'll like it. And then there's Sophie, I don't know how to say this, Query and the Last Story Guard. So this is a companion novel to Peter Nimble and His Fantastic Eyes. Personally, I never finished Peter Nimble. It got way too like fantasy and weird for me, but she loved it, and she keeps pressuring me to finish it or reread it. And she loves that one. She's read it multiple times, but she's never picked up this one. I think it's a little bit thicker than Peter Nimble, so I'm gonna make her read it this year. Now we've kind of got two that are like more contemporary. One that is, maybe we'll just do three that are more contemporary. That's what we'll group them as. This one is Crenshaw, and we actually did listen to this one on audio a few years ago, but it's been so long that she doesn't remember. It's about a boy named Jackson, and him and his family end up, I think his parents both lose their jobs. They end up living in their vehicle, and he creates Crenshaw, this imaginary cat that kind of helps him through it all. And I really enjoyed it years ago when we listened to it, and I think she'll like it now, get more out of it than she did then. Then I only have one Sharon Creech on this stack, which is surprising to me because she like writes for this age group perfectly, but that is Heartbeat. So this is a free verse novel about a 12-year-old girl who really likes to run, and her mom is pregnant, and this is like the second child of theirs, so she's been an only child for 12 years, and her grandfather is, yeah, losing his memory as well, and so there's lots of different things going on, and I really enjoyed this one. I think she'll like it. And then this one, I don't really know what to categorize it. This is Heist Society. So this is definitely like an upper middle grade young YA kind of book. Our main character's name is Katrina, and her family, they're thieves. They steal like the crown jewels. It says here, for her 7th birthday, Katrina and her uncle traveled to Austria to steal the crown jewels. When she turned 15, she planned a con of her own, scamming her way into the best boarding school in the country, determined to leave the family business behind. But then things happen, and she ends up getting sucked back into the family business. And I don't know, I didn't love this book, but I think it might be better for her age. We'll see. And the last book / 2 books are classics. I probably will pull out a few more classics for her to read as the year goes on as well. But I'm very curious for her to read Animal Farm. I want her to go into it with like background knowledge of what Animal Farm all is. I still to this day just do not like this book myself, but her and my husband my husband was telling her about this book recently, and she seemed very interested, and he likes the book, so I think the two of them can have some things to talk about. And then I did also recently grab the Animal Farm graphic novel, which I think will be a good thing to pair together. So these are currently the only classic on the list, but I need to talk to her, figure out which ones she's actually read, and get her to read a few more as well. So that was like 20-ish books, I'm not really going to count them, that I have on her list for this grade 7 school year. If you have any recommendations for her, let me know. She's read quite a few books, so maybe she's read them, but leave them below and maybe they'll also help other people who have kids that are in this age range. And then also, if you guys are interested in hearing my son's grade 4 reading list, let me know. He definitely falls more towards the silly kind of chapter books. He likes to be able to laugh. So let me know if you want to see that as well. And thanks so much for being here.